welcome everyone back to another episode of ShiftEd podcast coming to you. Today you got a great guest, and she has been on this podcast before, quite a few years ago. But
Yes.
I always was like, gotta have Catherine come back. Gotta have Catherine come back. So I have Catherine Korah here from our the Center of Excellence for Behaviour Management. And I wanted to just read the mandate because it's so important.
Yes, of course.
And what they set up to do is support school boards and schools, obviously, continuous professional development, again on behavior management,
Hmm.
research and development activities, which are crucial, and then also becoming that expert provincially on helping teachers navigate our kids, our system. We know out there that it is not getting easier. I mean, I'm sure we say that through all the decades. It's never easy. Teaching is probably one of the hardest jobs in the world. Um, and Catherine's here to kind of help us make sense of all of this. So Catherine, thanks so much for taking some time
Of course.
to
Of
join
course.
us.
Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, well, I love your insight, and I love how you explain things, and then it kind of like we will have a deep exhale at the end of like, we got this. um, but I love how your foundation is grounded in Gordon Neufeld, a lot of that kind of attachment theory and what kids need. And I guess that's kind of
Mhm.
my first question, Catherine, is
Yeah.
what do our preschool, our fours and fives? I mean, we'll rewind even to, one, two, three, fours and fives. What do they need in life to develop into humans? Or they're
It's
humans
it's such a good
into,
question.
like what are the cogs that need to be in place so that
Yeah.
these children grow up feeling like they can contribute to our world?
I have to say, and I don't think that it's intuitive, but I think the biggest thing that kids need is for us to not mess with nature's plan.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is we have this focus at times as adults to try to instill in our kids everything that they need in order to grow up and be, mature and well-rounded adults. And the truth of the matter is that our brains are designed for that to unfold naturally if we could allow for the right conditions to be there and for the child to be receptive to that, that potential, that growth. And so, it's not so much about teaching kids, it's more about giving them opportunities for them to play, for them to, be creative, be outside in nature, for them to feel safe with adults, for them to not have to work for the relationship, but feel at rest with the adult. And I think that when those things are in place, kids spontaneously become emergent, curious, and whatnot. Although I have to say that in the last few generations, quite a few generations, I think there's few things in our culture that has messed with the way in which the plan is meant to unfold naturally, which is our devices, our screens and social media and all of that. Unfortunately, is getting in the way because play is very fragile and it can easily be disrupted. And so I think kids are losing opportunities today that they, compared to kids, 20, 30 years ago. But if we leave that aside for a second, yeah, I feel like adults need to remove that pressure of thinking that they need to instill everything. Once the relationship is there, the beauty about relationship is that there's ways in which the kids attach to us that will make it that they will follow our cues. We don't need to force it down their throat. But by the time that they attach to us through sameness, which is the second level of attachment, through belonging, which is the third level, and through significance, wanting to be special to us, they will want to do our bidding. But we need to get to that place. And I feel like adults are focusing too much on trying to, teach and teach and they're talking a lot about skills and whatnot. And we need to trust that, nature is well done and that it has a plan. I mean, kids forever have been learning. And so why is it that we put on this pressure now for us to have to push the envelope when kids have always, grown up and learned and followed the adults? So
No, I
yeah,
love that. I love that. And I mean, um, nature can take care of a lot of that, like you said, provided that we provide the conditions in which
100%.
they can feel at ease at going off and playing. I mean, not too far from their parent or their love,
Right.
their attachment that needs to be there. But
Yeah,
nature can take care of a lot of stuff. And I guess we're
absolutely.
kind of getting to this pinnacle where kids are playing far less and going outside far less.
Yeah.
And like I know there's lots of distractions, as you mentioned, screens. How can we start to counter that a little bit? Because I meet with a lot
Yeah.
of parents and teachers, and it's always we have this discussion on, well, what do I do, right? Like I don't want to have to fight every time with my child about screen, and it feels like a big task to do, but
I
we're
hear
seeing
Alice.
the
I mean,
negative
yeah,
effects too,
I've
right?
got a 15-year-old at home, so I
Right.
can, yeah, I can empathize with with the screen time. But I feel like at the same time, if we let go of that battle, then to me, it's everything is going to go downhill from there. And so I think it is important for us to have those values instilled, and that we model it too, because I think that's the other piece where we get caught as parents is that so oftentimes adults will use them for work, or even personal, but then the kids watch this. And then for them, it's like it's normal to see, their friends do it. I know my daughter at school, they've got a computer that they use in class, and so that's normalized as well. It's a tool that they're meant to use to do their academics, and so it's there. It's omnipresent in our day to day. But at the same time, I think it is important for us to have screen-free times, that we spend some time with our kids, that it's not just about telling them to get off the screen. It's also about replacing it with something. And so parents need to spend time with their kids doing, I can't help but think that parents don't do as many board game nights as we used to. I remember doing that growing up, and these are like these such precious times that we really need to invest in, even if we're tired. I feel like the other piece that adults work against adults nowadays compared to generations before is parents are very much left to their own. I feel
Right.
like the villages were grander before. I can think of my grandmother who had 9 kids. My mom was a ninth of 9 kids. So she had her elder siblings that were there to help out in the neighborhood, and the aunts and the uncles and the cousins and whatnot. I feel like that's the piece I've noticed the more, because I also do parent coaching. And
Right.
oftentimes that's the piece I hear from parents. They feel overwhelmed. They're both working. Then they come back from work. They have to hurry up to do dinner, get everything, the homework, getting through everything. They're tired. They want some time off. And then you get caught up in that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if parents can have a bigger village to help, for them to be able to have that support and to rotate so adults can have a pause, then maybe kids will have more opportunities to be able to connect. And I don't mean for kids to be in more sports or more activities,
Right.
because sometimes parents will over schedule their kids. They'll send them out to do all sorts of different extracurricular, and then the kids are exhausted. So they're not connecting with their parents. But then when they come home, then people are on their screens. I mean, let's be honest, a
Yeah.
lot of adults will say they don't do it, but then you go to the mall, you go to the restaurant, you watch people walk in the streets sitting waiting for the bus or wherever. People are constantly on their screens.
I know. I know. It's
And
crazy.
so, yeah,
Yeah, and
I don't know.
I like
Where
the
do you
way
start
too that
from
you
there?
yeah. And over scheduling too, like I like that idea that, you know, it's good for kids to be a part of communities and
For
sports and
sure.
stuff, but I mean that's not typically play, right? When you have outcome based, like all of our
No,
sports and everything,
no,
it's not a child choosing freely what they want to do and how they
correct.
want to do and who they want to do it with. This is controlled play. I don't even know why we call it play because it's such a confusing term at time. Could you elaborate
Hmm.
on that a little bit? Like play for just
Yeah.
play's sake?
The thing is that true play has three criteria.
Hmm.
Number one, it can't be, as you were saying, for work. The second the child feels like they're doing it either to win something, like in sports, there's a prize perhaps, or if you're playing a board game, there's a winner or a loser. And so the moment that there's a goal where it's about winning, or it's about pleasing, perhaps I'm doing it because I want to please mom and dad. then it's no longer considered true play. So that's criteria number one. It has to feel free and creative coming from the child. And so no work. The other one is, oh, sorry, I'm kind of confusing the second one. So the second one, first one's no work. The second one is it needs to feel free and creative. The second that a child is following directives and that it's too kind of structured, then you lose that essence. And I'll give you an example just to make it really concrete. So a child could be drawing a picture and they're in their creative mode and they're doing something for their pleasure. But the second an adult comes in and says something like, oh, that's so nice, or oh my goodness, what about this color or that color, and starts messing with the child's creativity or starts hinting that they would, that they like this or they like that, then it's no longer true free play. There's no
Right.
longer that creativity coming from the child. Now it's about pleasing the adult.
You kind of
And
take
then
that away
yes,
from them, eh? In a sense.
exactly. So it can't be work. It has to feel free. And the third criteria is, um, where was I going? The third criteria is it has to be engaging.
Hmm.
And so I recall years ago when Gordon did his theory around play, he had used the word fun, but then realized as he did his work on emotions that you can do a lot of play that's emotional that could actually be very not necessarily fun. It could feel very sad or very angry. And so it's okay that it goes in that direction. It just needs to feel engaging to the child. So the child is investing their time within that play mode. And so that's what's considered true play. And there's many different types of play. I mean, a child can play through their emotions. They can have full of creativity and emergence, and that would be called emergent play. And so there's many different categories of play. And many of those can be true play, but any of those can become work and
Right.
be removed out of what is considered true play. And so a video game is not true play, for example. Although it can be engaging and fun for the child, there's an outcome. And so
Right.
that's not considered true play.
I love
Yeah.
that too. Like sometimes I think our misunderstanding what play is. But I do love that they put it a part of, the Charter of Human Rights that play is a right for all children. Like it has to be.
Can't be a privilege. It just can't be. I mean, how many times in my career when I was a professional in schools and teachers would say, Johnny's done this and that, and so he's going to stay inside today because going outside at recess is a privilege. My goodness, please, please, please. It's such a need. It's a
Yep.
need. And especially for those kids that, that they do dysregulate and that their behavior goes left, right, and center. Those are the kids that need the most play, the
Totally.
most play.
Totally.
I mean, we know now a bit more than before the benefits of play
Mm.
and how, play helps us grow up. I don't know if you're aware, Chris, but in the last 2, 3 years, I've been working with K4, K5 teachers to develop a toolkit with them and also some resources for kindergarten. And of course, thank goodness the program for kindergarten promotes play.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, with my colleague Martine Demers, we're creating a document around play and helping teachers understand to what extent play is so central. And play is learning. Play is actually the first
Totally.
bit of learning for kids. We mustn't think that it's play or learning. Play is learning.
That's it. I always say like play is their work. I mean,
It really is.
it's how they're going to develop and get the skills they need by doing it. It's like
You
experiential and
wouldn't believe, you
yeah,
wouldn't believe my good colleague Eva D'Agostini that you've met before and has
right.
come in and co-presented with you, a few
Yeah.
years ago. She presents on play and the benefits of play. And one of the things that she'll talk about is the fact that we've got a left and a right hemisphere. And the right hemisphere is the section for creativity and whatnot. But what we realize now with neuroscience is that the right hand side of the brain actually develops through play and through music and movement and whatnot. And it actually is the first necessary foundation for learning. So
Right.
learning, which comes in part from the right, but in part from the left, and the left hand side is more detailed oriented, but the brain will not leave room for the right hand side until
Mm.
the left hand side, until the right hand side has developed sufficiently enough. And so
Wow.
all this to say that if kids haven't played enough, they're not ready to learn and to read and whatnot. And I think there's certain countries like Finland, for example, that, they'll wait until the child is 7 or 8 before they start pushing reading because they know that the fundamentals to reading starts through play.
Right. Right. And
Yeah,
if you're trying to push it too early, you're actually going to hold them back when they get into that.
correct.
Right. So it does have a negative effect when we're rushing kids to develop. It's
It
something like
does.
you said, like we have to let it sounds so easy though, right? Like just let nature take its course. But
Yeah,
yes, it doesn't have to be
yeah,
any more complicated than that. Love
yeah.
them, make sure that they feel supported and that you're there for them and the love is there. But then let them just go and explore and stuff.
For sure. The
I,
other piece that we need
mm-hmm,
to be really mindful of, and this was part of the questions you had sent me originally,
mm-hmm,
Chris, is kids nowadays have a hard time expressing their emotions. And I think part of it has to do, in the sense with, yes, for sure, digital devices and whatnot, but also with the pandemic that came.
right,
I feel like the pandemic, unfortunately, not only has it stressed the adults and stressed the kids, but the kids have also lived the stress of the adults. And now we're receiving the kids who actually were born and started their first years of life in pandemic within our schools. And so I don't know if teachers have noticed in the last year or so that the new kids that are coming in are a bit tougher than the kids we've had before.
mm-hmm,
And I think part of it has to do with the fact that they haven't been exposed as much to play because of the screens. Adults had to work from home. And so, what's the only way to keep the kid busy while you're working is to put them on a screen. And so a lot of that has happened, unfortunately, whether we liked it or not. But I think the other reason is that the kids felt the stress from the adults. And it's not our fault. I mean, it is what it is. And when kids are emotional and they feel stressed, there's no freedom to play, in that sense. I mean, yes, kids can naturally gravitate towards releasing some of that stress through play, but not all kids do that. Some kids will be able to do it naturally, and other kids, unfortunately, um, they use the screen to continuously distract themselves, and it becomes this vicious circle where they don't feel comfortable expressing, they don't like tears or feeling sad. They'll try to distract that, and emotions will accumulate,
right,
and
right.
I think that's getting in the way. I feel
Yeah,
like kids are
totally.
more caught up now, shut down in their emotions than before.
Hmm. And how does the Center of Excellence start to address this? Because I mean, we all feel it, right? Like I totally agree with you. I think kids are a little bit different just because of the effects of COVID, really. Like, how do we start to counteract that or kind of
Yeah.
I don't want to say feel normal because I mean
No.
things change all the time, but can we get back to a spot or is there a way? Are there tools? Are there like what how does the Center of Excellence help our parents and
Yeah.
teachers deal with this reality?
It's a really good question, Chris. And I feel like as I'm unfolding some of the tools since COVID has hit,
Mm-hmm.
I've come to recognize that now it's not just about finding those tools to address the kids. I feel like we need to support the adults as well.
Yes.
I don't believe that the adults have come over the hump
Mm-hmm.
of the stress that came from COVID. I feel like it brought them backwards in terms of their capability to manage stress because they had this additional stress to live with. And unfortunately, I don't feel like they've caught up just yet. I feel like every summer, I'm hoping the summer is going to be enough for them to, to have some time off and to be able to come back. And it's an interesting thing. I from year to year since COVID, I'm noticing adults are less and less refreshed when they come back in September. So there's something
Interesting.
happening
Yeah.
in terms of, and maybe it's just the unfolding of all of it, but I feel like the answer to your question, Chris, is bigger than just let's find the tools to support the kids, because the adults need to have the bandwidth to be
Mm.
able to manage all those tools, additionally to managing themselves and to taking care of the kids. And so I think the answer is more systemic.
Right.
I
Right.
feel like we need to reflect on how adults are being supported
Mm.
and how are adults being taken care of? How are we sharing the weight of some of these kids? And how are we using our best? And it doesn't have to be these very complicated strategies, by the way. A lot of the tools that our center has worked on are really these very basic, universal best practices
Mm.
that teachers are already doing.
Right.
It's just that we've found a way to kind of help teachers be more intentional
Mm.
in the way that they're using them keeping track on them, making sure that the ones they're using are well adapted to the cohort that they have. They just need to be more aware of some of the strategies that they're using and making sure they're a good fit with their group.
Right.
And then you have to kind of pay attention to, so those kids that need more targeted support or more individualized support, how are we going to go one step further compared to, the universal best practices, to having some spots in the school for alternative with support staff, helping out the teachers and the, professionals coming in if needed for tier 3 and whatnot. And so
Mm,
it's not that we don't have the strategies.
mm,
We've got the strategies, but the adults need to be available and open to applying those intentionally and really being in the moment and strategic and being timely. Because that's the other thing too. I've come to notice that even if the adults have the right recipe, and honestly, there's no perfect recipe, is sometimes the timing is off.
mm,
Adults will wait until something comes up with a child and then they'll intervene, but the child's no longer receptive.
mm,
And so a lot of the good strategies that could work when the child is more regulated and more attuned to the adult, now at that point, it's almost like we're trying to put out a fire and the child's not receptive, the adult's getting flustered, and the kids feel the energy from the adult, and it just becomes this
mm.
vicious circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, I think that, yes, it's about having the strategies, but it's also about being intentional, having the
Hmm.
right fit, having the right expectations. That
Mm,
I'm seeing, especially with our little ones. Adults, for some reason, don't fully grasp that kids don't just grow up because of their age.
mm.
Remember, we were talking about having the right conditions,
Right. Yeah,
and
totally.
so a lot of those conditions, if they're not there, the kid's not growing up. They're growing older,
Mm,
but they're not growing up. So you still have 4 or 5 year olds in your classroom. You could have a classroom of grade 4 students, but if they haven't had the right conditions, you're
mm.
basically teaching a kindergarten class.
Right. They're just not
So
emotionally matured enough, right? Like they just
yeah,
haven't had enough exposure to
yes,
playing and, and
yes,
outside and
yes,
building friendships. Did you
yeah.
find too that the cell phone ban that came into our schools this past
Mm,
September? I'm kind of conflicted about this. I just love your opinion on it in the
yeah,
sense that, like, okay, so we have no more cells in the classrooms. We've kind of taken that burden off of teachers in the school,
yeah,
but have we not just kind of passed the buck on? I'm worried about at home what happens with the kids once. And
yeah,
I have a teen as well who gorges a little bit, because of that lack of having, they haven't had their device all
yeah.
day.
These devices are very addictive for
Yeah.
anybody, even for mature adults. But the thing that we need to understand is that a child who's immature, who's not emergent, so doesn't have that natural curiosity to want to unfold their potential towards learning, wanting to learn math and science and all of that. Those kids who don't naturally have that curiosity, they get easily bored and they
Mhm.
try to fill that boredom with distraction. So this is where the phone fits in and becomes even more addictive to some of these kids who lack that emergence. And so the adults need to understand that for those kids, the second we pull out the phone, we're basically removing their lifeline. So that's one piece in terms of the emergence. The other thing you need to know as well is that the way in which our attachment works is that it gets deeper as we are more vulnerable and that we're more mature. We allow ourselves to attach more deeply to people. And so we're okay with not just connecting through screens. We want to connect more deeply.
Yeah.
But a child who doesn't trust the adults, is not emergent,
Mm.
and does not have a very in depth type of attachment,
Right.
attaches through very superficial connection. And so the screen, social media, is the perfect breeding ground to continue to feed this vicious cycle for
Right.
kids who connect through being together and whatnot.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so they're seriously addicted to their phones, not only because of the lack of emergence, but because of the lack of depth of attachment. Those screens are complete competition. I mean, more than competition. I would say the adults can't even come near
Right.
the competition of the screen. So
Yeah.
if you remove the screen, you're leaving a hole with the child,
Mm, mm.
and they don't know how to handle that hole. A
Yeah.
lot of kids don't know how to handle boredom. It drives them crazy.
I know. And I was reading something where boredom is necessary, right? Like
100%.
it allows kids to go a little bit deeper in their thoughts or
Yes.
think about things a little bit more
Yes.
deeply. But if you have these constant distractions, you never really
No.
kind of get deep into your own thoughts and mind. Like that boredom is essential in a way,
It is the
as you
gateway
develop.
to creativity.
Hmm, interesting.
It really is. And so all this to
Hmm,
say, to go back to the cell phone ban, I'm
mhm.
not saying that we should have kept the phones in the class, but let's understand the impact of that and let's substitute it with something else. And so this would have been a great opportunity for the adults to set up, I don't know, it could have been whether through, I don't know, drama, different mediums, right? Through
Sure.
drama, through art, through different types of activities to help the adults connect with the kids,
Hmm,
to create those conditions so the kids can rely on the adults to find other avenues of creativity.
yeah.
And maybe that would have helped soften the blow a little bit.
Yeah.
But for some kids, honestly, it's literally you're removing their lifeline.
Yeah,
And so
totally.
no wonder they're exploding and acting left, right, and center.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
they're smart, these cell phone people. They know how to hook people. I mean, they spent millions
they're
and billions
algorithms.
on this stuff, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
they want to have users for life, and they're pretty good at it, I would
They
say.
really are.
Yeah.
The maybe I'm a different generation. I don't know, but I'm of the generation that I didn't grow up with a cell. I had a
Mm,
cell in my late teens, and
right.
so I'm watching my daughter who's 15, and she's had a phone since she's little,
Mm,
and it's hard when you haven't lived it yourself to
yeah,
know how to navigate this. Like it's a first for all of us.
totally.
Um,
Totally.
yeah.
I feel like that a lot nowadays, just figuring stuff out, just
Yes.
trying to get enough information or thoughts that you can kind of like
Yeah.
come up with your own kind of idea, or here's how we'll manage these things at home and at school. And
Absolutely. We have
but
no clue. I mean, I recall David Suzuki, and I
mhm,
can't recall how many years it was, but he was saying that every time a new device is introduced to a culture, I think it was 100 years, but it's almost crazy to think that it's that long.
mm,
That it takes a certain amount of years for the culture to realize after all of that the impact of it
right,
on the long run.
totally.
And so I think we're still kind of living the impact of the television and the so
I
the,
think so.
the smartphones. We're not. I don't think we're there yet. Yeah,
Well, this is fascinating, Catherine. I want to just thank you for joining us for this chat.
my
Whenever I talk
pleasure.
with you, I have new thoughts and things I got to go and look at and think about again. I
For
appreciate
sure.
you sharing your expertise with us.
It's
And
my
I
pleasure.
just see this as an ongoing conversation. We'll definitely have another chat down the road, but I appreciate you taking some time and sharing
Absolutely.
these really important thoughts. And I'll definitely link in the Center of Excellence's site
Thank
so
you so
everybody
much.
can want to check
Yes,
it out.
and of course, my center doesn't focus too much on parents. That
Right.
being said, I am going to be doing an event in the new year with Learn, with the through the CLCs, where we're going to be trying to look at for kids who are doing, first school transition, how to be able to help parents with the school and family engagement and
Right.
being able to help our little ones. And so more to come. I always have
Totally.
new stuff popping up, and yeah,
Yeah, that
thank you for
transition is so
having me.
important too, right? From kind of play to sit at a desk all day. Like it can't happen so quickly. So I'll definitely be participating in those conversations with you, Catherine.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris.